Hello, Otafest listeners. Welcome back to your beloved podcast. I'm Jay, and joining me is your beloved other co-host, Angelo.
I'm bald.
I did not expect that. Well done. He is indeed bald. But you know who else is not bald like me? Nancy, but she's not here. So she can be bald for all I care.
1 in 3 podcast hosts suffer from baldness.
Oh, one of my friends recently sent me a reel on Insta where it's basically like there's this it's between a doctor and a dentist,
Okay.
and the doctor is originally just like in this medical school like teaching new students about bones, and the medical students are asking about, but what about teeth? Those are bones. And he's like, yes, but we can't talk about them. But I will give you that there are upper teeth bones and lower teeth bones. And then after the class, the doctor goes out into the hallway and a dentist confronts him. He's like, hey, doctor, what's up about teaching these kids about bones? The teeth bones that we thought that we agreed that you couldn't teach them about. And he's like, I'm sorry, they asked. And he's like, I will break you if you talk about them again. It's like, but I thought you were going to take care of my teeth. And he's like, I'm that 5th dentist that you hear about.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh, damn, dude. 1 out of 5 dentists.
1 out of 5 dentists say yes. Bite all the hard candy.
Yes. It is weird that they give you candy post visit.
I mean
It's repeat business.
Exactly.
Anyways, without further ado, we do have some news and announcements.
We have 2 news and 2 announcements.
Wow, that's a lot. Let's get started. With strategy in motion, the moment has arrived. Joe Zija arrives at Otafest 2025. Joe Zija is a voice actor, author, and educator in Los Angeles. You've heard him in Genshin Impact as Ryuthsli, Fire Emblem Three Houses as Claude Von Regan, Persona 3 Reload as Kenji Tomochika, Star Fox Zero, The Battle Begins as Fox McCloud, Fate Apocrypha as Achilles, and many other anime and video game roles. He's the author of the Epic Failure Trilogy, a whimsical military sci-fi series described as Terry Pratchett in space. Visit his website, joezija.com, for links to his books, Voice Acting Academy, and more.
And folks, give a warm round of applause. Patchy, for Cottontail VA. Cottontail VA is a VTuber, voice actress, ASM artist, and singer, best known for her charisma, quick wit, and bunny girl persona. She'll be virtually appearing at 18+ meet and greet panels on the Friday and Sunday of Otafest. Based in Canada, she started her content creation journey as a voice actress, stuffed into a cramped closet, recording on a cheap microphone. She took on countless roles for indie games, animated series, and audiobooks. Her playful, flirty nature and knack for engaging audiences led her to expand her brand into streaming on Twitch. Cottontail VA is a passionate advocate for inclusivity in the online space and strives to empower individuals with motivating speeches on self-love, confidence, and inspiring others to get out of their comfort zone. Whether she's voice acting a character, sharing her latest cosplay, or just being her playful self, Cottontail VA continues to enchant her audience with wit, charm, and undeniable talent. Get your tickets to see Joe Zija and Cottontail VA at otafest.com.
That's our website.
Yeah.
My God.
So, Jay, we had something of a podcast luncheon this weekend.
Something of one.
Something of
2
one.
out of 3. podcast hosts.
2 out of 3 podcast hosts decided that they would love to spend their day stuffing their faces with wonderful, eccentric dumplings. And that's why Nancy wasn't invited.
Yeah,
Get out of here, Nancy.
that's exactly why.
That's
Yeah,
exactly why.
we went to a new shop that opened downtown. It's actually been in Calgary as a brand for maybe about a year or so, but the location that is closest to us in a walkable distance opened up, the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop.
Yeah.
It's kind of a place that does they do dumplings, if you couldn't figure that out. They're not based in Brooklyn. It's like friggin' Boston pizza all over again.
Oh my
But
god. Canadian companies and naming themselves after American places.
New York fries, did you know?
New York Fries is Canadian?
Yeah. We
Oh
have,
my
like,
god.
our true pandemic is naming ourselves after American things. Places
God
especially.
damn. I'm going to have to open up the Denver 90s Museum. Christ.
You will.
But anyway.
No, wait, it's already happened. Anyways. So these dumplings, they kind of have a good assortment where they have a lot of non-traditional filling.
Yeah. I was really surprised, and when I was seeing the list of different fillings, I decided that I had to go. I had to have some of these dumplings.
Yeah, there's like mac and cheese and like Greek hero dumpling and but there's also stuff like pork kimchi, which is kind of a standard filling. We had Korean barbecue, which is not standard filling, but was okay as a flavor.
The vibe is correct. There was peanut butter and jam filling. Oh my.
Yeah,
Oh
and they
my.
advertised, and maybe it's at the other location, that they also have, what was it, pumpkin spice?
Yes, I don't know if they were just out of stock the day we went, but on their website they said pumpkin spice dumplings, and I want to try those. Maybe I have to go to the other location now.
Yeah. I didn't know you were such a pumpkin spice fiend.
I am a white girl at heart.
All right.
Every year when I'm going around places, and like if I'm going through the grocery store and it's like, oh my god, pumpkin spice coffee creamer sounds good. If I'm at the beer store and it's like, oh my god, pumpkin spice lager or pumpkin spice stout, I will buy their entire stock.
I wonder if there's been a pumpkin spice Irish cream.
Yes.
I was like, that seems
Actually,
like such an
yes.
easy,
100%.
such an easy connection.
I'm fairly certain that Bailey's makes one.
Okay. I am also a white girl at heart, in that I also enjoy the pumpkin spice, but they didn't have it.
They didn't have it.
We got to talk about the ones they did have.
We gotta talk about the cheesesteak. And the
That was your favorite, right?
The cheesesteak. So
yeah.
Dio and I got a good assortment of dumpies. And yeah, 100% the cheesesteak one was my favorite. It was the exact flavor profile that I was looking for. And in their chili oil and in their house dip, it was pretty good. It was very tasty. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
So my partner and I, we got the Korean barbecue, the pork and kimchi, and the gyro. And I have to say, ranking them, well, basically I just ranked them. The pork and kimchi was best. Maybe it's because I'm just nostalgic and it's like the most traditional-ish one of the ones that I mentioned anyways. The Korean barbecue was okay, but it like every bite of the dumpling, because I'm not familiar with these dumplings, I would take like half bites and I want to take a look at the inside. The inside of the Korean barbecue one looks like dog food.
I
And
understand
that is
what
not
you mean.
appetizing.
And I think that is a matter of how they want to fill the dumplings, right?
I get
Because
it.
if you have like a big chunky beef bulgogi it is kind of hard to put it into a dumpling, have it maintain the dumpling shape, and also, if you bite half the dumpling, not have all of the filling come out with that first bite. So while I understand what you're talking about, the fillings were pretty finely ground. I think the taste, I think the flavor of them stood up. It may have looked,
So
it may have looked like a paste, but it tasted like kebabs.
well, the Korean barbecue, maybe the problem was that it was not a paste, but it looked chunky, as in it had like cubes of something, some ingredient or another. So again, when you bite into it and you actually look at the filling, it did remind me of like wet dog food, which is again not appetizing, but the flavor itself was okay. And then we got the gyro, which is the least favorite out of the things we got. I'm not saying it was terrible, but I didn't think I like Greek food in general, and I like Mediterranean food in general, but it just sort of lacked, I guess, like the fresh flavors that I generally
I
associate.
can, I can,
It didn't have a lot of punch to it.
yes, I can agree with you there. So, did you get the soft version, like the seared version, or the crispy version of that?
We got we got like seared. Yeah, sorry. For viewers, there's like a seared and a crispy version,
Yeah,
and we got seared for all of them.
I got crispy for everything,
So
but Dio got seared
yeah,
on everything.
I see.
And I actually found that the crispy version added a lot of texture that was otherwise lacking. So I
That's
also had
fair.
the lamb hero, and with that one, I did like the flavor, but I wasn't in love with it. Kind of like what you're saying. The lamb was there. It was nice and juicy. I found it wasn't dry at all. The mint was coming through. It wasn't what I was wanting out of that,
It
and
was
that's
kind of
okay.
yeah, it was kind of muted
Yeah.
overall. Um, and then I will take some umbrage with the sauce availability, because here's the thing. And you know what? I get that it's a choice for the customer to either engage in sauce or don't for any given dumpling, okay? But they give you two sauces. One, they're both traditional dumpling
I
sauces,
will
okay?
say they give you one sauce for a standard order, but if you grab like a
Yeah.
bin of multiple dumplings, then you get two sauces.
Yeah. So you get their what they call house made, which is like a standard sort of soy sauce vinegar blend, that you would usually dip any traditional Asian dumpling into. And then there's a chili oil, which is a very weak chili oil, but that's okay that it's weak. I don't care that much about it, to be honest. My problem that I have with it is that, and I kind of suspected it going in, but non-traditional dumpling fillings don't necessarily go with those dumpling sauces.
Yes, that's true. So, for example, I feel like the lamb hero didn't
Yeah.
really vibe with either of the sauces well at all. It didn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't
and
bad, but again, it
I
wasn't
don't want
what
to say
that
it's
type of dumpling deserved.
yeah, I want to say like it's not necessarily their fault, and it's not necessarily the customer's fault either. Like I don't, because I'm kind of with them in that like not every dumpling, custom dumpling fusion thing that they're going for should automatically be served with a custom sauce too, because that's a
It's a
lot of
lot of
extra
overhead.
work, and it doesn't really make sense because then you're not really catering to still some of like the basics of like the dumpling uh food foundation. But the problem is, as the customer who doesn't really know, you're like, I have these two sauces. You gave me sauces for a reason. I'm gonna use them, not knowing whether they're gonna actually go well or not.
Yeah, I think they have an opportunity there to cater certain sauces to be included with certain types of dumplings.
Yes.
Like, quite frankly, the mac and cheese dumpling I did enjoy. I think it would have been better had it been a crispy dumpling. Dio got it in the seared
Yeah.
style.
That's by default like a crispy thing, right? Because
Yeah,
then
I
it
feel
becomes a
I feel like it would have had more texture that way. Whereas in the
yeah.
seared style, it was a very mono texture, I kind of want to say. The taste was perfect, but the texture, I feel like the crunchy outer shell would really help there. But while chili oil kind of works for that, mac and cheese does work well with spicy sauces. You could do something different. You could do like a different kind of cheese sauce. And I know you're saying like cheese on top of cheese on top of cheese. What is going on? But different
That's sort
cheeses
of the appeal of mac and
with
cheese.
mac and cheese. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Or like a specifically different kind of spicy sauce. Like it's already very fatty, being mac and cheese. So maybe like a spicy
vinegar-based.
vinegar-based sauce. Like honestly, a Frank's Red Hot would go really well with that. But that's an option. That's an option.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the problem with that whole approach to food is that a dumpling a dumpling wrapper is just a vehicle for what it contains, and therefore is not really a good determinant of what else that dish should be furnished with
Exactly.
in terms of accoutrements, right? So it's I didn't hate it going there. I would say that I would go there again. I just would be more selective about what I get and actually probably be less adventurous because when I want dumplings, I want dumplings. As in
You
like
like
something
the
usually
pork
with
dumplings.
pork and veggies, chicken and scallion. And I saw that they had chicken and scallion. I just didn't get it because we already were getting pork and kimchi, which was pretty good. Although it was the least juicy out of all of the other ones, but that's okay. It still had good flavor.
And they were
I wish the sear was a little harder.
stuffed. They were well stuffed. Now, what
Yeah.
did you think about the restaurant setup in general? Because I have a few thoughts on it. So, for example, they don't really have a front
are you
of
talking about the
house.
pickup?
Yeah. So they don't really have a front of house. You go in and you use a
Yeah.
little kiosk. They got two little kiosks to order everything. And
Yep.
then depending on whether it is a takeout order or if you're eating in, they did deliver the food to our table, which is actually, I didn't expect that. I thought I would have to go up to the front of
Same.
the little lockers.
Yes.
And I was
because there's no
was
signage.
interested in using the little lockers, but they did deliver to our table. So credit where credit is due. They're not completely serviceless.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I don't think there was signage that I noticed. I also made the assumption that after you order at the kiosk, they will just place your order tray into the pickup
Little
locker,
pickup lockers.
and then you take it to your table, which is I think fine if
I
they
think
did it
that's
that
super
way.
cool.
But we just sat down because you guys were already there. So we were like, we'll socialize first, and then we're supposed to get a notification on your phone, which I
Yeah.
don't like.
I'm fine with that.
No, it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary. They could do a different system where it's those pick up one of those buzzers, you know?
So the reason why
Like
they're
I don't
doing
like
with the
giving
phone,
I don't like giving an I don't like giving information
that isn't needed.
that's not necessary.
So
I don't if they start
my
if they start
perspective-
sending me text messages, I will actually be mad about it.
Oh, that's fair. 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
If I start getting text spam messages from that, I will be a little bit miffed.
I will
But
actually
to my
just not
understanding,
go anymore if that happens.
My vibe, what I'm thinking is the intent, is for people who work in the area or even like the high school kids who are across the road. They would probably order from the app and start walking over. They'd get a ping on their phone when it's ready, when it's done. And they could just use the QR code on your phone, open up the locker, and you've got lunch on the way. That is actually the way that I intend to have their dumplings going forward. I'll be taking the train most of the way home, half of the way home, walk over to their place, ordering it on the way, and then once it pings, I'll grab the box and I'll go home and have it with Dio.
So I would agree, except for the fact that it's just their default mode of service.
Yeah.
The other location is also a pickup locker, and they are not by a big high school.
All right. But what
And they're
about
not
other
really.
businesses that are around?
Nope, the other location's in Inglewood. So it's not really the kind of place that I would say encourages that mode of delivery.
I kind of feel you there. I kind of feel you, with the exception that there's a lot of people in Inglewood, like working in Inglewood, where being able to pop over, grab the thing, and then get back to work is beneficial for.
I don't disagree from a pure convenience standpoint. I just don't think it's useful on a
The
first of all, it's a
regular
first-time visit
clientele, the regular
for a
clientele
first-time
that are
visitor
going there,
as well.
a lot of people will want to sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. At the end of the day, my criticisms are really just about the food first and foremost, and because that's the thing you go to the restaurant for.
I wish the flavors were stronger, and I
Mhm.
wish the chili oil was spicier.
The chili oil is just oil.
Oil with chili flakes.
Yeah.
They could absolutely do better on that regard. Please, sir, please chili up that oil.
Yeah. One of our other friends got a bowl of like
Soup.
soup dumpling, but not soup dumpling. Dumplings in soup.
Yeah.
And they said they thought it was okay. I would have. It doesn't come with noodles in the soup. It's just dumplings
Oh.
and some broth and some other veg. I was like, well, because I live so close to this location, if I was ever feeling like I want dumplings in soup, I could just order that and come back home and put noodles in the soup. But then my partner pointed out that it would just be cheaper because it's not like dumplings are that expensive. Just go buy a bag of dumplings, put it in the broth yourself at home. I was
True.
like, fine.
True.
I won't stimulate the economy. But yeah, like I said, my initial impression is that I wouldn't mind going back again, but I am more wary of the fusion stuff. Before we actually leave that, we didn't talk about your dessert.
Oh, yes. So I had the peanut butter and jam dumplings as a dessert dumpling because I really
Yes.
was interested in the dessert dumplings. Unfortunately, they didn't have the pumpkin spice that I wanted, and that's okay. I forgive them. They'd better have it next time, or else. But I think that I was the one at the table who actually did like them the most. They were
I didn't try them.
they were just straight up a crispy dumpling. You didn't really get a choice on that. Filled with peanut butter and then drizzled with strawberry jam and some powdered sugar on top.
Imagine that it wasn't a crispy.
I think that
Just like
again, for the
floppy,
texture
wet-
of some of these, I really
Yeah.
do believe that that the crispy dumpling was the way to go. Otherwise, it is just a mono texture.
So I guess another criticism is that I saw that Dio also got the sampler box. We also got the sampler box. When you go with the sampler box option, you cannot choose separate modes of cooking for each dumpling.
Oh, really?
It's either all seared or all crispy.
I didn't realize that.
Because when I think about it, I think that when I selected gyro, I did want crispy, but it wasn't an option in the sampler, and we were too lazy to go back to selecting each dumpling individually. Either way, that's definitely something that should be changeable because
Oh,
it should
100%.
be. It's not something that is difficult on their end preparation wise. It's a change in their ordering UI, and that's it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, anyways,
When you were
yeah, the
ordering
PB
the
and J
sampler, did it give you the options for the dessert dumplings?
at the bottom,
Were
I
they there?
think it
Okay.
was like add a dessert or something. I wasn't, fully invested in the ordering process, but it was there.
All right.
Anyways, I remember saying to you that like the PB and J. Oh,
It
the
isn't
PB and
something that
J.
would be difficult to make at home.
Yeah, and it was funny because you were all well, Dio was explaining that the jam just comes in the serving cup, and the peanut butter is the only thing inside the actual dumpling,
Yes,
which
100%.
I thought was kind of weird because I would have wanted that to be both of those ingredients should be inside the dumpling. The preparation would be that they're both frozen cubes, essentially, and you quickly throw them in the deep fryer and they melt a little bit, and then they come out and they're good to go.
I think the
So,
reason why they did it this way, not only because of ease of manufacturing, but also because if you did do like two frozen cubes in the dumpling, the distribution would be more difficult, right? Like if you
right.
had literal like two cubes, one cube would be on the left side, one cube would be on the right side. You might get a bite of all jam or all peanut butter. That's a problem.
I think it
If
would.
you
I
could
think they would
change it
just
to like
meld.
you could change it to like two flatter, longer pieces. So that is an option, but that introduces manufacturing difficulties. And this
Could
way,
be.
you do get to like scoop up some of the jam. You get to manufacture each bite to your preference of peanut butter and jamminess. And also the jam on top does help with presentation. Like the
But yeah,
presentation
I
of
did.
the cheesesteak dumplings versus the lamb hero dumplings was identical. It was for me crispy dumplings with some green onion on top. The
I did. I
peanut
did.
butter dumplings, they actually visually looked much more interesting.
I mean, that's good. I didn't look at it when it first sort of came out or whatnot, but yeah, I definitely made the point that you could make those at home. Not necessarily even make them at home because, again, some of the problem of this food modality is that it's almost like novelty,
It
and
is
that the
100%. It's
dumpling
novelty.
the dumpling wrapper does not actually have to be involved, which is kind of the problem. Because I was like, with the PB and J one, make yourself get yourself some PB and J in your little jars. You could air fry some wonton or dumpling wrappers to get that nice crispness, and then just put PB and J on it.
Yeah, you
That
could.
like you do not need to wrap it. It makes no like to me, I just can't see why wrapping it would make any difference, you know?
Because I'm at a dumpling shop and I want a dessert dumpling.
Yeah. But anyways,
Like
go
you
there
could
or
say
don't.
the same thing about the apple pie dumpling. You could be like, well, you can just buy a can of apple pie filling, and you
True.
can just make your own apple pie dumpling at home and air fry it. It's like, yeah, but I'm here, and I want a dessert dumpling because I've never had a sweet dumpling before.
You've had dango and mochi.
Yeah, those are mochi and dango are very very different.
No, they're not.
Yeah, no, I mean from what we were having.
Yes.
Mochi
But
is
they're
not a
but
PB and J dumpling.
I'm sure there's a PB and J mochi.
I'm sure there is, and I would eat it.
Yeah.
I would eat it.
Anyways,
Anyways,
it was all right.
my conclusion on that place is to treat it like a grab and go fast food joint, and fast food dumplings is a good idea.
Yeah, we do need more of them. If we were like Japan and we could have 100 yen dumpling shops, I would be a very happy person.
Oh, yeah,
I would also be really
100%.
happy if we had Matsuyas and Yoshinoyas
Yoshinoya?
and yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Anyway.
Anyway, I'm gonna get
Anyway.
sad real soon. But I'm gonna get even sadder because I found out that I am an antique and I belong in a museum.
Fellow 30-year-olds, Our childhood is currently being wrapped up and museumified.
It's true. So I saw an Instagram reel. Think it was an advert. Could have just been an advert. Doesn't really matter. But in Denver, Colorado, thank God it's over there, so I don't feel tempted to go to it here. There is a 90s nostalgia museum. If you were a product of such a time, you already know what's in there, but I'll tell you what I saw on that reel anyways. There were Furbies.
Of course.
There were Titanic VHS box covers.
I had
There
that. Wait, they
were-
just had the box cover, not even the VHS?
I don't know if they have the VHS. Maybe they have it playing on loop on a CRT somewhere.
All right.
I don't know. I didn't go. I told you it was in Denver. There was memorabilia of things like Bill Clinton playing the saxophone.
Based. Wonderful. Bill Clinton playing the sax is so culturally iconic that they built it into the Animaniacs opening theme song.
Yes. I was thinking that when I saw it as well. There were, not surprisingly, video game consoles from the 90s.
All right.
I saw the PlayStation 1, N64. Like I said, this is like a quick, overview of what was in there. I'm sure there's a lot more. There were a lot of toys. Like I said, I already mentioned Furbies. There was Tickle Me Elmo. Remember how big Tickle Me Elmo was?
People were trampled to get Tickle Me Elmos. There is
I
blood
never had
in
one.
that
I didn't
red
care.
fur. I never
Yeah,
had one
but
either. I was too old by then.
But I remember I heard the stories, and I think that was the first time as a kid that I realized people were crazy about consumerism.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably stuff. Well, I wonder if there were things that they had to get licenses for. Like, I don't know if Pokemon's in there.
Well, that's the
I don't
thing.
recall. I don't recall seeing any Pokemon in that reel, which I feel like stands out.
That is weird.
Huh.
That is weird because Pokemon is very, very late 90s. And that is probably one
97.
of the biggest things of the 90s. But
It's
quite
one of the
frankly,
biggest
they
things in
shouldn't
2025, my dude.
They shouldn't need licensing for the same reason why Robot Chicken, if you remember that TV show.
Yeah, that's satire, yes.
Well, it's satire, but they didn't need to license anything if they bought the official toy. So when you just have a piece of thing, if you have a Titanic VHS with the Titanic VHS box cover, and you put
You don't
that
have to
on
go
a
to
shelf,
Sony or whatever.
you don't need anybody's permission to say, look at this VHS box cover. That's not a
But
thing you need
is
to
that
do.
not?
Now, if you were
that's
to actually
interesting.
play, if you were to actually
Yeah.
do an unauthorized play of the VHS in its entirety and like have people come
I
over
see
to
what you
watch it, that would be an unauthorized thing. That is against
'Cause
the
that's
license that is
distribution.
granted. That's different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. But yeah, it was just a lot of things like that. I won't lie. I do want to go because there's so many things I've forgotten about my childhood in terms of, those vibes, those
I wonder if they would have an entire
lovely analog
room
things.
about the O.J. Simpson trials. I wonder if it's just
I don't know
90s
how big this museum
things.
is.
I wonder if it's just 90s things or if it's 90s pop culture as well. Maybe that's why we didn't
Pop
see
culture.
Pokemon.
No. So I would say pop culture was involved because there were other things that I saw. Now, I think it's because it's local to the region that they included it. But because I would consider sports a part of like pop culture.
All right,
It's
yeah.
a very in the moment, sort of thing. And I can't remember what year. I want to say it was like 94 maybe or 96. The Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup with Patrick Waugh. And I briefly saw a photo of a jersey, I think it was his jersey, in that museum. So I do think they reference, more than just. items, but they also reference events. I don't know if OJ Simpson would be there because that's bad vibes. I guess it was entertaining.
Fair.
I bet I bet Michael Jackson's in there.
I would think so. I would hope so.
Yeah.
A lot of
Big things
people
of the
say
90s.
that the 90s didn't really have its own identity. A lot of people will argue that like the 90s was just a
Really?
little bit of a wrap up from the 80s and a transitory period between the early 2000s. But there was a lot of things that were really decidedly in its infancy in the 90s. Like you mentioned the game consoles. And while yes, there were some iconic game consoles from the late 80s like the NES, the early Ataris, things of that nature. But a lot of the retro consoles that people truly, truly love, and honestly, some of the weirdest consoles out there were very decidedly 90s. Like the heckin' N64 with its three-handed controller.
Yep. There were things like the Neo Geo Pocket. I'm not referencing things that I saw in the reel because again the
Honestly,
reel was
the
just a very
birth of
small flavor,
3D
right?
gaming came
Yeah.
from the 90s, was very solidly 90s. And just like there was some really weird 2D stuff in the very early and late 80s, and honestly, a lot in the 90s as well, the most tacky and charming 3D media probably came out from the 90s itself.
Probably. Um, I would say to me, the 2000s were way more bland than the 90s were.
You think so?
Yeah, like having lived through both, even though I was much younger in my 90s, or in my 90s, my God, in
In the
the
90s.
in the 90s, um, I just felt like the 2000s was almost like if you want to say that the 90s was a wrap up of the 80s into a transition of the
2000s?
2000s of the noughties, um the noughties were sort of a transitory period where they were just trying to find themselves again.
I kind of get you there. I do. But for a different reason, which actually comes right from the heart of the 90s. So, the internet, did exist before the 90s. It actually saw
Was
mainstream adoption through the middle to late 90s, especially with the invention of the 56K modem. Good dial-up internet
yes.
at not even 1 megabit per second came about in 1995, and that is crazy to me.
I had
But
a computer
in the
with internet in
90s,
97, I
in the
believe. 96 or
90s,
97.
the internet was slow, adoption was low, and really pop culture and things were just, it was a lot slower. You basically had to wait for albums to come out. You had to wait for
Yep.
movies to come out. And there would
It
only
was still
be,
very analog.
like, a movie would be out in theaters, and you wouldn't be able to get it on a tape or later a DVD for 6 months to a year. So if you wanted to be in the conversation about a movie, you had to go to theaters. You couldn't watch it on Netflix or get it on a DVD, a Blu-ray, or streaming like 2 months later, like you can now.
Well,
It was so much slower that there were defining moments for each year, I would say. Whereas as soon as you
sure.
get into the night into the noughties, internet adoption, I would say 2001, 2002 exploded to the
Sure.
point where between social media and pop culture and everything, it felt like a fire hose was turned on, and so much happened every single
So
year.
here's the thing. I agree with that assessment that the internet is sort of like the the unfurling and availability to the masses of internet was definitely a early thousands like vibe in general. But the problem I have with it as defining the actual feel of that era is that because it was digital, by nature, and people were not thinking of archiving things yet. We have lost a lot of it,
Oh yeah.
and there is no. That's what I mean by like for context, for flavor, for in a lack of better terms, like materialism of that age, it's gone. It's all gone.
I
Like you
remember
don't you
that
don't
the old Space Jam website was
yes.
what I would reference as 90s web design for so long. And when Space
Yeah.
Jam 2 came out, they repurposed it to the new movie. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, the last of the old internet is gone."
Yeah.
They actually have an archive page. People were
I'm not surprised.
so passionate about that old Space Jam website disappearing that they brought it back as an archive page you can go to.
But they probably updated the code behind it.
No. To the point where a
No?
lot of it is broken.
Oh,
Like
okay,
all
good.
the links don't work anymore. It is great. It is fantastic.
That's great. But yeah, like so that's what I mean when like the 2000s is planned in the way that I can't connect with the 2000s as easily because the transition to digital from essentially an analog childhood where you could pick things up with your hands and experience it that way is gone.
Moreover, you had to experience it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It was a good time.
if you wanted to watch Jurassic Park, the basic way to do it was you had to go to see it in theaters. You had to have the tape if you wanted to. And beyond that, you could get kitschy stuff from McDonald's, like a little plastic Jurassic Park sippy cup or plates or things of that nature. Whereas now, if you want to experience Jurassic Park, you type Jurassic Park stuff into Google. There are entire Gary's mods, re-implementations of Jurassic Park in ways that make it so that you are the person running away from the dinosaurs. There are so much fan stuff. There is a torrent, a deluge, a tsunami of official and fan works to the point where
Yeah.
if you are a Jurassic Park fan right now and all you've done is watch the movies, are you really a Jurassic Park fan? You haven't experienced a lot of Jurassic
Everything.
Park.
Yeah.
Whereas 20, 30 years ago, watch a movie, read a book if you're really nerdy, and if you're 9 years old, play one of the arcade games. One of the, like, two. That's it.
Oh, I remember the dress. I guess that was probably my big thing that I remembered in the 2000s is that arcades were still around.
Yeah.
And the theater arcades were actually good because you remember that Jurassic Park shooter?
The one where it's
in
like two people,
movie
you're
arcades?
in the
Yeah.
Jeep and you're shooting everyone. It's a
Yeah.
rail shooter and you have to shoot
There were
off the
so
screen to
many good
reload.
ones.
And oh my
Yes.
god. Oh my god. Me and one of my
There was
friends
that.
back
There was,
in,
of course,
in,
like
grade school and high school, we loved that one.
Yeah. Yeah. These are, but I mean, like, I'm not, but that's the thing. I don't think for nerds, maybe that's the experience, but I don't know what everyone else experienced in the 2000s in a sense. Like, there's not as much to touch base on there. For me, it's like definitely arcade games in the 2000s, like DDR, Jurassic Park, Time Crisis. There was a game called like Police 911 where you could like dip, duck, and dodge physically, and you could dodge the bullets and stuff.
Yeah, no, I remember that one. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were great things, but
You know,
much less
for
flavor.
early 2000s,
I feel like
the
than
last
the 90s.
one of that, like, that gasp for relevance that early 2000s arcade games had, where they were trying to be something that you literally could not do at home. I loved that.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi, love
Crazy
it.
Taxi, hell yeah. Ah,
But yeah. Anyways, I would go to that museum if it was here. I won't lie. I want a refresher on what it was like to be in the 90s.
I have a friend who lives in Denver, and they're trying to make us fly back again to visit them. So who knows? Maybe in a year or two we'll have an update on the Denver 90s Museum.
Maybe I should come with you. I also have friends in Denver.
I think
just
they're
have
the
not
same
visited them.
friends.
Some of them.
Some of them. Some of them are the same friends.
Yeah. So maybe.
Maybe.
I wonder how long it goes, Phil. I'll go look.
Yeah.
But I won't buy via Ticketmaster or StubHub.
I
I will
refuse.
go get an actual paper ticket.
I'm pretty sure Ticketmaster was still around in the 90s, and I'm pretty sure they were still widely hated back then.
Probably.
Yet Ticketmaster
Some things
was
never
good.
change.
Some things never change. The more things change, the more things stay the same. And we will stay the same with a new episode next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.